Hi, Challie Gangloff here with Challie's Farmers Market, and today we're... Yeah, I'm trying to... All right, sorry about that. Hi, Challie here with Challie's Farmers Market and Art, and today we're here to talk about winter squash. I figured what better to talk about with the fall coming. Winter's going to be here soon, so let's talk about some health benefits and some really great recipe ideas, okay? What I have here in my hand is a Hubbard squash. These guys come in red color like this, also sometimes called golden because of the interior flesh. They also come in big, giant, what we call blue Hubbard. The skin looks a little more gray, but somewhat blue. Hubbard squash are very, very high in vitamins A, vitamins B, vitamin C also, and it is a good source of potassium. This squash is actually the best squash to use for pumpkin pie. I know a lot of people think that you use what we call a spooky or a sugar pumpkin. These guys are normally used for decorations, but if you were going to use a decorative pumpkin to eat, this is the one you would use, a sugar pumpkin. As they get bigger, they lose their flavor and not really good for cooking. Another guy that we have down here is a butternut squash. This is probably the most common squash that people use for either pumpkin pies or soup more so. The reason that it's used for soup is because it's a little bit easier to peel than some of the other squash and pumpkins, and also the flesh inside is easier to cube and it has a little bit stronger of a texture, so it holds up better if you're putting it in a soup or a stew, whereas a Hubbard squash or let's say like an acorn squash, they kind of tend to break down and be a little bit softer. Butternut squash is one of the highest squash in potassium and also the vitamins that we mentioned, A, B, and C, which is kind of standard in all your winter squash. Acorn squash, like I said, very similar nutrients. One of my favorite things to do with an acorn squash is cut it in half, take out the seeds, then you're just going to slice a little bit off of each side. This way they can sit flat in a pan, and then you're going to roast them in the oven. You don't have to add anything. If you want, you can put a little bit of butter, a little bit of like a spray oil, sweeten it up. But these babies are so sweet, you really don't need anything. Then, whatever you want to add, if you want to saute some vegetables or little ground turkey or ground beef, and then about 20 minutes before the acorn squash is done, scoop that into, it's almost like a bowl. Put it back in the oven, cover it with foil, and you have a delicious dish. It's everything. It has your vegetables, the meat that you're putting in it, and you're good to go. One of the coolest squash is the spaghetti squash, all right? Now, what you can do with spaghetti is, just like it says, use it as a substitute for pasta. The great thing about this is pasta in 1 cup has 200 calories and over 40 carbohydrates. Spaghetti squash, 1 cup, how about maybe 40 calories and 8 grams of carbohydrates. So a little bit better flavor than pasta, it's better for you, and without all the fat, the calories, and the carbs. All right? Now that we talked about the different kinds of squash, we're going to go home, cook some, and see what you guys think.